Right, so when I was making the bowl blanks the other week, I found these in the bowl blank storage area and forgot that I'd left these to dry out, which is probably why they've cracked, or one of the reasons they've cracked. Didn't quite mean to leave them quite so long. So we're going to plane them down and then fill these cracks with resin, and that way they might be pretty and useful. I'm going to make some platters for a table. Okay, so the first bit we're going to do is we're going to plane these off with the power planer, and I've made a little jig so that I've got something to push against. So because I cut these with a chainsaw, they're not level in any way, and so we're just using the planer to try and make sure we've got a nice level base so it doesn't rock whenever there's a plate or something on it. Right, so we've done some of them. The planer needs a rest. Starting to get a bit warm. So we're going to move on to the next step with the ones we've already done, and that's to work our way up through all the sandpaper grits. Right. Got most of these, 4 of these sanded. About all I can put up with. And so the next bit is we need to fill in these cracks. And I'm going to do it with resin. I've got polyester resin with some blue pigment I want to put in it because I think it looks really cool. So what we need to do is we need to seal these up so that the resin can be dammed in effectively. This is aluminium sticky back tape stuff and is wonderful for resining because it sticks to most things. You can push it in. It does, if you rub it too hard, it goes into the hole a little bit, which isn't. And then this side, so this is the open side. This is the bit that we want to keep the tape nice and tight. You probably won't seal it completely. You might get a little bit of bleed out, but you won't get very much. Not with this tape. It forms too well into the thing you're using. So, like that. Like that. And then if you've got too much, which is unlikely, what we're going to do is we will make a little dam. Just fold it back on itself a little bit, like that. And then around the sides, if you're worried about it spilling out or the object you've got isn't terribly level or flat, if you put a crease down the middle of this stuff, like this, you can then stick it to wherever you need it to go, and it acts like a dam, and you don't have to wait for cork to dry or anything like that. It's pretty resilient to, like, certainly this amount of resin leaning on it. I wouldn't try a really, really deep, like 50mm pour against this. If I was to do that, I would put a little bit of plastic pipe or some pencils or something a bit more rigid inside the tape so that it had a bit more rigidity to it rather than just a floppy seam. This is one of the platters, and this is the easiest way I know of having a dam for the resin. You're just going to make sure you squidge all the seams together, and any extra resin, what you do is once you've poured it and it's gone green, you just go around the edge with a knife and put a little score line in the resin, and once it's set you can peel all the tape up, it will break along the score line, and then you can sand back the bit on top so it's perfectly flush with the piece of wood. And it's so much easier than putting cork or anything else like that around your big pores. So, and we'll get these other 3 all taped up, and then we'll get the pouring resin. Okay, so we've got all the dams made up. We're going to go for a quick pour. We're going to mix in, we're going to do 100 grams. Going to do 200 grams. And then also, we don't want it just clear, we want to put some blue in it. 1, 2, oh, this stuff's getting old. That's probably quite a lot. Let's get stirring. It might be a little pale, but I'm alright with that. I think a bit pale might be nice. So, there's no way the counter is flat or the piece is flat, so we will fill it up until the edge is full. There it goes. So we could put a little thing under that. Oh, there's a tiny block of wood. Tiny block of wood. There we go. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to get these out, and then we will try and find a way to combat the stickiness so that we can sand it. Also, the tape should come off pretty easily. Okay, so I like to think that my mistakes are here to help other people. My rushing, because of the whole trying to keep a schedule thing, has meant that one side of this is not connected in any way. So we're going to fill it with glue as much as we can. There's 2 of them like this actually. So we're going to fill it with glue and then use a hardener on it. And it will hopefully work. Not entirely sure, but that's the joy of experimenting, isn't it? Right. Push the glue really hard up against the gap. Together, I'm going to squeeze. Do that. It might not work because it's trying to stick a wet thing. But at least the gap could theoretically be covered. Right, so these are now ready for rudimentary sanding, hopefully. We will see. Because I'm sanding resin and super glue, definitely wearing a mask for this one. Where's my sanding box? Oops. Gonna need this today. Alright. This side's pretty good, it's not sticky anymore. It has clogged the paper up a bit, so we're going to take another sticky side, this side, and get as much off as we can, and then throw this. Okay, so last bit we need to do on these is to seal them, to stop them picking up any more dirt. or stains from anything. So we're going to use this. This is a beeswax and white spirit mix. And it just makes the beeswax a lot softer, really. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put some of this on. It'll probably take quite a lot. Because the wood is quite dry. Okay, so this is what we started with at the beginning, and then after a wee bit of sanding and a wee bit of resining, this is what we ended up with. And I really enjoy the contrast between the blue and the yellow of the wood, although this one's slightly more yellow than the others. I think this is because this was the end of the piece of wood that I cut up and it had been sat in the sun for a while. So these might go more yellow over time, but we will see. Anyway, if you like the video and you want to like and subscribe to it, that'd be great. And if not, well, there's probably another video next week if you're interested, and I'll see you then.